Alright, good morning. Welcome back to Three Swords Gaming as we continue our Guild Wars 2 personal story playthrough, Janthir Wilds, which is the new expansion recently released. Now, it is worth noting we have yet to get to Janthir Wilds, and that is because the first chapter of the story is really quite lengthy, particularly if you take the time to talk to everybody, look at all the things, and kind of examine the impact of some of the lore tidbits that are there. And there was no small number of lore things that popped up in that first chapter. So as a result, it took us a really long time. And now here we are, ready to continue forward with... Am I in the middle of a raptor? It looks like he moved on. All right, let's continue forward. We have finished our meeting with the Tyrian Alliance, and we have essentially been dispatched to go to Janthir Wilds and establish diplomatic relations with the Kodan there, the lowland Kodan, who are apparently different than the Kodan we've seen thus far, and we'll get an opportunity to see that here pretty soon. So Anise is going to be sending us on our way. Here is Anise. Let's go ahead and have a chat with her, see what she has to say.
Prompt, as expected. Welcome, Commander. The gateway is active. I've word that Malice will meet you there. Got a glimpse of the place myself. Frode gave the Queen a proper tour. He'll be expecting you too. Though, between friends, their definition of camp is sweet. I'm sure you'll be very comfortable.
You should see the Wizard's Tower.
You are quite adapted to them, aren't you? How are you feeling about the mission, then?
Taking a wait-and-see approach. This is uncharted territory, and Janthir has quite the reputation. Venturing into Janthir to befriend Coden. Not how I envisioned that first big step.
Diplomacy is a fine craft, Commander. And making allies requires an artisan. Oh, before you depart. Do we prefer Wayfinder or Commander now?
For you? I don't know if you calling me anything but Commander would sound natural.
Old habits die hard, I suppose. Good luck.
Alright, so there was mention there that Janthir has a reputation, and that does go back to the first Guild Wars game, when Janthir was a formidable place, and so presumably it is still considered a formidable place. You do go to the Isle of Janthir at one point in the first game, if I'm not mistaken. I believe there's a mission where you guide the eye to a certain place or something like that. I think the enemies there are some sort of cultist or white mantle, or it's been a really long time since I played. So, needless to say, it is a location in the first game as well, and it is considered a dangerous place. And yet, here we go on our way. And on our way, courtesy of the Astral Ward, who've helped facilitate a camp there, and also apparently a gate for us to enter. So we will enter their gate and go to Moon Camp, which is a good name for a camp. Why not? Moon Camp. I like it. All right, there's Kaith. There's Malice. I don't recall Kaith specifically saying she was going to be with us.
Wayfinder, the guest of honor. Welcome to Mooncandle. Vanak, if you don't remember. Fought with you against the Cryptus and Omnitas.
This is what you call a camp?
The Astral Ward? Subtle. Not a chance. Good to see you closer to ground, though. I volunteered to help with the integration. Long overdue that we got involved in Tyrian affairs. More publicly, that is. Got a few things to atone for.
Oh, Commander, Vanak was just giving us the lay of the land. Dangerous place, Janthir. Eager to scope it out.
I am as well. There's something about the atmosphere here that wilts my senses.
I didn't realize you were joining us too, Kaith.
On Dagonet's order, he didn't go into much detail about the Pale Tree's status. And perhaps it's not my place to say, but her recovery has been slower than we expected. Some days she seems weaker than the day before. We search for a remedy. The Astral Ward knows magic, and ancient magic at that. I'm hoping we can form a connection with you.
I do too, for what it's worth. And all help is good in these parts. Janthir is a nasty place to get lost. But before you touch ground, Frode wanted to speak with you, Wayfinder. Seemed urgent enough to prioritize.
Right. I'll track him down.
So a couple of observations real quick. One, I like that Vanek Faithwalker seems to take the stance that the Astral Ward integration with the rest of Tyria should have happened a long time ago, and that perhaps they were remiss in not participating in the fight against the Elder Dragons. I like the idea that there is a variety of opinions on this stuff across the Astral Ward. It gives the Astral Ward the impression that they are more than just cronies of Isgarin, that they're an actual organization with a variety of people in it. So Kaith, self-invited. We did not invite her. That gets immensely tiresome. Seems to be a thing she does. I guess at this point in the story, it's within character for her. That doesn't make it likable. I understand that ArenaNet would like to maintain some contact with some of the original characters from time to time. I find it unlikely that we will have very many stories where we're not interacting with any of the original characters. And so, of course, here we get Kaith inserted within this story. I would be just fine with leaving all of them behind, but I think there's a high enough number of players who want some of the original characters to be in the story that is kind of unlikely to ever happen. All right, so we continue to have Janthir portrayed as a a perilous, daunting place, and certainly we'll get a chance to see that for ourselves soon enough. All right, the Warden has, or rather, Mabon and Isgarin placed restrictions on the Isle of Janthir and the city of Bava Nisos. All right, something to put a pin in if we run across a place called Bava Nisos. Frode is not down here. So I didn't notice, as an aside here, I do not have Warclaw on this account. So when we obtain Warclaw through the Isle of Janthir method, that will be the first time we have Warclaw on this account. So interesting, on my main account, I already had it, and because I already had it, logging into Janthir Wilds, I got like a World vs. World skin, and I believe some World vs. World currency as well. What are they called? The little ticket things, not the badge things. I've largely claim tickets. I don't play a lot of World vs. World these days unless I'm working on a legendary. But yeah, I believe that's what I got for that. On this count, we of course did not get it because we did not have the Warclaw. All right, Frode, I see you have books. You have a town record. Klein Laurent apparently died of unknown causes. Other people are alive. So I am not going to deep dive all of these letters that can be found all over the place. Some of them undoubtedly have important things. Did manage to pull some information on a village called Gavril. It's fixed, or was, somewhere in the southernmost isle of the Isles of Janthir. Sal de Lesio was there. These are important lore notes, but I don't have the time or appetite to go through every single letter that we encounter throughout the expansion. So when it comes to the lore and discussing what's going on, we are primarily going to focus on the dialogue. I'm sure there are some other folks out there who are doing every letter, and so there's definite value in kind of listening to their observations on that. All right, Frode, what you got?
Frode, I trust you're getting some sleep in between missions?
I used to be in charge of Moon Camp before Levente named me Warden.
Something must be serious to pull the Warden from Omnitas.
You know us well. It's true. The Lowland Coden will be fine allies of Queen Jenna and the Tyrian Alliance. That is no lie. They know these lands better than most. Janthir and the northern stretches are formidable. How much did you learn of Waiting Sorrow during your time in Omnitas?
Waiting Sorrow, your missing wizard? Not a lot, besides the fact that she created the Heart of the Obscure.
Indeed. I've never met her, of course, as she's been missing since before Ascalon burned to the ground. This must stay between us, for now. But we suspect that she's hiding among the Coden.
You want me to find her?
It isn't a burden on your shoulders alone. The Ward is here to support in whatever way we can, But, yes, we need you to.
Is she dangerous?
She's very capable. For your own safety, expect resistance. I wish I knew more. Between us, Wayfinder, all conversation about her turns Isgarin more conspiratorial than usual.
Then I'll keep my guard up.
Good. For what it's worth, Dagda doesn't agree with him. She was also Waiting Sorrow's closest friend, so there's bias. But that's all I've got, so I'll leave you to it. Get to know the region. We'll set out in search of the Coden soon as well. They've been known to homestead along the delta and the coastline. They'll build for 100 or so years, then move. Unsure of their exact position, but I imagine we're close. We portaled Moon Camp here to avoid scaring the locals.
Probably more subtle than flying it over the bay. Good call.
Stalwart Hart pulled some research noting they're not especially keen on magic. A floating building may cause alarm. But, good luck. I'll be here to guide you as I can. Ward's busy with the reacclimation. It's going to be a long process.
Okay, so we got a little bit more conversation here with Frode, it looks like. But before we get into that, there is one thing that I definitely want to really take a look at real quick, and that is this thing with Waiting Sorrow. So we're getting a second task, right? We're officially, on behalf of the Tyrian Alliance, we're here to establish relations with the lowland Coden. But now we're also told, hey, you need to look for Waiting Sorrow, and apparently, like, apprehend her. And going all the way back to Secrets of the Obscure, this is a little lost on me. The threat that Waiting Sorrow represents, aside from the fact that she is in general capable, is never clear to me. That's confusing. Why is Waiting Sorrow someone who has to be apprehended? So she chose to leave the Astral Ward. Is that in some way bad? Like, is the Astral Ward one of those things where once you join up, you never leave, like under threat of death? Like, that is believable given what we've seen of the Astral Ward, but also would add some more. It would paint the Ward in a more sinister light than maybe I've at least been looking at them. And certainly they have the capability to possibly be sinister, but can you never leave the Astral Ward? We are a pseudo member of the Astral Ward ourselves. Are we bound the way we bound ourselves to the Shining Blade at one point? Like, how many things is the commander going to bind themselves to? Like, I don't. For me, the Waiting Sorrow thing is confusing, and I can't help but wonder if I'm not the only one. If a lot of players enter into this adventure to try and find Waiting Sorrow, not understanding why it is so important that Waiting Sorrow be found, or why we're pursuing Waiting Sorrow like they are a criminal instead of a missing person. That to me is super weird and unclear. There's mention that she created the Heart of the Obscure. Hey, great. That wasn't a criminal act. We used the Heart of the Obscure. So that really is lost on me. And apparently it stems from Isgarin. What's her name? Dagda? Yeah, Dagda, I believe. Disagrees. Let's see, where's that dialogue? It's somewhere in there. I can't find it right now. Oh yeah, Dagda, closest friends. So a lot of interesting stuff there. I'm not sure what to make of all of it. There may be some clarity as we advance through the story. If there is, I missed it on my first playthrough on my main account, but I also didn't spend quite the same amount of time examining some of this stuff, so maybe we'll catch it this time around. All right, Frode, what else you got to say?
How are things with the ward?
Fine. Tense. Isgarin wanted to lock our doors and go back into hiding, but that's just not an option for us. We have 100 fractal inhabitants taking up residence in Omnitas, and I doubt they want to stay. They're sitting in a limbo of our making, and that's just one problem.
Are you going to get the Alliance involved? Probably a smart move.
I think we have to. Lear agrees. He strongly agrees. Isgarin's worried that the world will think us monsters, which is a fair fear, but our actions aren't above critique. I'm airing my angst. suffered a few long nights, but we're moving in the right direction. Don't let me distract you.
Okay, so there's something weird here for me, which is I like the mention of the fractal inhabitants and the fact that that's kind of a little bit of a crisis for them. What I don't understand is why it's suggested that the Tyrian Alliance may be able to help. Bringing the fractal inhabitants into Tyria seems like a terrible idea to me. They are residents of a fractal, a reflection or a variation upon Tyria. Introducing them into Tyria seems like it would have weird second and third order effects that may not be optimal. I mean, could another, Tasha Aetherwatch exist within the fractal? And then what happens when you introduce them into the world of Tyria to come face to face with their doppelganger? That entire thing is super weird to me. And yet, apparently, Frode and Lear and the commander explicitly says that it's a good idea. In fact, the exact words, probably a smart move. Probably not a smart move. So I don't know what the play is there, either in the role of the characters or in terms of ArenaNet's writing. That one's weird to me.
Insights from Frode, Commander?
He and I caught up and talked about the Coden. We're not exactly sure where they're settled today, but they're likely close. Astral Ward research also says that they're a little distrustful of magic. We'll want to keep that in mind.
Sounds like we've plenty to strive for, then. We should get moving. I don't know this region.
I'd recommend taking it slow. When we call Janthir treacherous, we mean it.
Okay. So apparently Vanak is going to... Vanak is going to continue to brief us up on stuff as we move forward. Let's move forward. I really like how Kaith is like, we should get going. I don't know this region. No, that's the whole point of all this, Kaith, is that none of us know this region. But again, thank you for your, contributions. Okay. That's what Vanak is going to do. We're going to get to know Moon Camp before we head out. I had forgotten that. All right, so there are a few things to see here, then. And Vanak can further inform us. Historical records of Janthir. Sure, maybe we'll learn something there.
What can you tell us about the history of this place?
Former home of the Mersat, and later the White Mantle. From my research, there's been very little activity in recent years.
Correct. Aside from the Kodan, only a few other groups have called it home. Some centaur tribes, trolls, creatures that keep to themselves. And the Isles are another story. I recommend you read up on it. A lot of blood has been spilled here.
Okay. Well, that's, I would love to read up on it, but the historical records only triggered dialogue and did not actually tell me anything. Unfortunate. All right. Mersat Rug. Now, I suppose there are all these other things, like the stuff that we've already, looked at here with Baba Nisos and stuff, so that's probably what Vanak is making reference to. All right, so we got a cup, a white mantle badge, and of course, white mantle are significant for this region, and then a Mersat relic. And the Mersat were, of course, major players in the first Guild Wars game, and then we have encountered some Mersat things, and at least two Mersat here in Guild Wars 2. The two Mersat being Lazarus the Dyer, who was supposedly the last Mersat in Tyria. We helped Livia kill him, and then turns out he was not the last because there was Mabon as well, which Livia presumably also met after killing Lazarus, so I'm sure that was super interesting. I do believe they make reference to that in Soto, but I don't recall the particular dialogue and have no intentions of going back just to scope that out. So by all means, look into it yourself. All right, we got a Mersat relic here. Let's take a look at that.
A lot of things come to Janthir to hide from the rest of Tyria. That's why the Mersat built Baba Nisos here. Though, that place is all ruins and storms now. Hard to get close.
Bavanisos? What's that?
Former Mersat city. Fixed in the middle of the Isles. Been abandoned for a long time. Don't think I'd want to go anyway. Mabon told me about it. Didn't sound all that hospitable. He went back from time to time. Memories, I imagine. Or guilt.
I do find that idea super interesting, of Mabon going back to a desolate, destroyed, abandoned city for one reason or another. The only, one of the few things that remain of his race. Like that is kind of a fascinating idea. There's enough reference here between the note over on the table and the conversation here that I can't help but assume that this expansion is going to wrap up in Bava Nisos, that's where the story will end. Described as being in the middle of the Isles, right? So, if I had to speculate, because this is an island, but we are going to go here. That's Janthir Century. That's a map that's already available as we advance through the story. And then there's an island here and an island here from what we can see. So it would not surprise me based on the shaded colors here if Bava Nisos is right there. Um, but maybe it's not. No way of knowing at this point in time. We will see. That's speculation on my part. We'll see if I'm right or wrong in 6 to 9 months, I suppose. All right, we got more stuff over in this room. We still have at least 2 more relics to look at. Got a Val Raven Talon over here.
That's a Val Raven Talon. Nasty beast. The ward has little documentation, aside from a few first-hand accounts. When few travelers come through Janthir, stay away from them at all costs.
Now that dialogue's kind of, I actually found it to be misleading when I first experienced this. I came into here and they talked about the Val Ravens. And I thought, oh man, that's going to be super significant. We're going to head down here in a minute and get into Janthir Wilds, and these Val Ravens are just going to wreck us, and it's going to be a formidable foe. And I was a little disappointed in that. And I suppose we'll make the observation again, when we get to that. But tiny bit of a buzzkill, that they weren't quite as formidable as he describes them. Lots of things in this room, and it makes me think about the homestead and how I hope. So I know for a fact we can get this in, or wait, no, not that one. Which one's owl? We can get the owl totem, and I assume we can get almost all this stuff in the homestead. If not now, then in the future. One of the things that I really want in the homestead, to come back to this other room before we find the last couple objects, I want this statue in my homestead, and thus far I've not found the the recipe for it, but I assume it's obtainable at some point. I'm pretty sure this one already is. I just got to figure out how to get it, and once I figure it out, then I'm gonna have it somewhere in my homestead. If not, a whole series of them, maybe around some sort of brazier or something. I'll make some kind of weird, Celtic temple or something. I don't know. Maybe on that little island that I like so much. But because the homestead crafting does not allow us to preview anything, the only way to know if that's actually what you're going to get or not is to craft it and then take a look at it and say, oh, this is or is not what I expected. That is a little unfortunate. All right, map of Janthir. That doesn't look... Does it? Actually, yeah, that looks like a map of the first map that we are currently on, doesn't it? Maybe? Did they have that kind of attention to... Or maybe just a portion of it? But I think it is. Okay.
How big is Janthir?
Huge. Practically in Kryta still. But the deltas are considered a part of the Isles due to their climate and flora. It stretches far to the north, running parallel to the northern Shiver Peaks, as far as modern maps are concerned. The Isles and Bay make up most of the occupied territory, with some coastal regions lining the mainland. There was even a small human outpost on the Isles, but it's long abandoned now. Don't know a lot about it.
Not a good place to be, then.
Thanks for your input, Keith. So essentially, it feels like Vinok is describing the playable area that we are going to get as we move forward throughout this expansion. We'll have to see whether or not that actually turns out to be the case. That's cool. Man, if you can get that in the homestead, how cool would that be? Put that down in the basement, you have some kind of weird portal in your basement. That'd be pretty awesome. I dig it. All right. Cryptus Axe.
That's a Cryptus Axe. I'd recognize it anywhere.
Yep. Moon Camp operated in the area during the attacks. Eparch's grunts were poking at something here. Never figured out what.
Given Janthir's history, I imagine there are any number of things a demon could be drawn to. Not especially inspiring, though.
Again, thanks for your input, Keith. Alright, so we've looked at all the clues. We are presumably ready to go out into the world and see what Janthir has for us. So let's do that. I got basic glider still on this character. Interesting. I really should get like the wings or something. Alright.
It's so quiet. Reminds me of Drizzlewood. Abundant vegetation. I wonder how much of this is edible.
I learned a long time ago not to eat strange plants. Now, where should we go first?
Sounds like something to be determined by a wayfinder.
Thanks for the snark, Keith. I like the commanders, like I learned a long time ago not to eat strange plants, because no, the commander did not. The commander continues to eat strange plants in basically every expansion. And there's actually an event right over here in the open world where you eat strange plants again. And I don't think that's like an accident. I think they put that there deliberately as kind of a, to poke fun at the number of events and story instances and so forth where the commander eats strange plants. All right, we found an overlook.
It may be dangerous, but this place... it's stunning.
That's one word for it. I wonder where the flow of water will take us.
It is stunning. This map is extraordinary. Maybe the best looking map they've made. May not be. It depends on what you consider good looking. But I do think they did a really excellent job in terms of the appearance of this map. And it does remind one of Drizzlewood in many ways. And I thought Drizzlewood was a fantastic map as well, particularly the southern half.
Goodness, look at you. This is a very old tree. Imagine the stories it could tell us. Standing tall and strong, protecting the smaller growth.
Eyes up, Keith.
Eyes up, Keith. Wolves.
Feel the fury! I'll break you down!
Good. I need these veteran kills. I need a lot more than that, though. All right. Wolves killed. Let's move. We got more things to look at. We'll hop up there. I do wonder, and I've not yet ascertained, and when I say wonder, I mean I'm not willing to put forth the effort to find out, but how much of this expansion you can navigate without having any mounts at all. So if a brand new player entered Janthir Wilds, like what that would be like. And I suppose they would have Raptor, right? And would they automatically get gliding too? I don't recall now. Possibly so. But, as we get further and further away from Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire with new expansions, and they build environments like this where Moon Camp's up here and we're down here, and we had to get up here to look at this. Possibly you can get up here, if nothing else, by going up that chain and then coming down this one or something. But it is interesting that they kind of, more and more you need previous content to play current content. I don't necessarily have a problem with that, but it is interesting to observe.
Watch out for the cliff. Wouldn't make for a nice fall.
Never mind the cliff. Watch out!
Oh no! So here are the Valravens. So we've been described, we've been told that they are like super formidable, and actually, they're basically griffins. I was a little bit disappointed by that. Not that they, are basically reusing griffins. I don't have a problem with that. Generally speaking, in most aspects, I'm fine with them reusing stuff because that is an efficient way to develop the game. So. No real heartburn there. My only disappointment with Valravens is they were made out to be much more daunting than that.
Valraven. Talons look just like the one Vinak showed us.
Look, a strange
The
plant.
flora is fascinating. And probably very toxic.
Thanks, Cave. I guess we won't eat it. I guess that's a strange plant we will avoid eating. Alright, so we got at least one more. Looks like at least one, maybe two things to observe. They did a great job with both sound and music in this expansion, in my opinion.
We should follow that stream. See where it leads.
Okie dokie.
Ward, I need assistance now! Alchemy! It won't calm!
Treacherous, eh?
Better check it out.
Why is this happening over the communicator? I've talked many times about how much I hate the communicator, and I'm happy that other people are starting to say the same thing. It is super obnoxious. It's immersion breaking. It's just god awful. Why did that need to happen? Look, right up here is where it was coming from. Why did that need to happen
Together,
via the
everyone.
communicator?
What has them so riled up?
Why couldn't we just hear it? Like, that's really unfortunate in my opinion. And it's going to get much worse this expansion. If I am not unhappy with what they've given us thus far, but I am cautious because, you know, the launch of Soda was good too, and look how Soda ended.
Attacking on sites so close to a populated camp is concerning behavior.
Concerning indeed.
Bet it has something to do with that distress call.
Indeed, we still need to find that dude.
Take?
So yeah, that could have simply been a noise that we heard. I mean, it was like 25 meters. Like, you can hear people at 25 meters. Oh, claw marks.
Claw marks.
And from quite a large beast, I imagine.
Does look that way, doesn't it? Those claw marks, like that paw would be as big as a commander, based on the claw marks alone. I think we're gonna find that paw is not quite that big, but whatever, man.
Footprints and more claw marks. Chase them away from camp.
Yeah, see, paw, smaller, and probably that paw looks like it's probably more accurate to what we're ultimately gonna find. Maybe each claw mark was independent. Maybe that was 4 swipes with the paw.
Blood. We better hurry.
All right, so I amend the 25 meter to 100 meter thing. I think you can still hear us screaming Asura at 100 meters. I stand by my point. The communicator is just gross. Where are you, little buddy? Probably right there by the aggressive Warclaw. So here's our introduction to Warclaws, right?
Wither.
So I don't dislike the encounter with the Warclaw, and I don't dislike what this does in the story. But how we're going to kind of see this go, I wish maybe they had done this like one less time. Because this little experience that we're getting right here, we're going to get it a few times, and I don't necessarily love that. But, you know, whatever. What? Who's talking to us? Oh, look, bears.
Not to kill. Maintain eye contact and be firm.
Maintain eye contact. All right, let's get right in front of it. I'm looking right at you, dude. I'm gonna take that. I'm just gonna eat that attack.
Again, we don't seek to kill it unless absolutely necessary.
Who are you?
Wither.
Outlander, use this salve. Breathe.
All right, we used the salve. Oh, are we just gonna straight kill this dude? There we go.
Curious garbs you wear. Perhaps something sturdier would do you better in these parts.
Nope, I like to be half naked.
Which of you is the leader?
Commander.
All right, so that's me. Note that we are now like tethered to the Warclaw now that we have like subdued it.
I'm in charge.
I've looked at those great walls all my life. Proud the humans. I'd like to get to know you. I'm sure the Claw would too. The sun is fading. Wherever you traveled from, our village is likely closer. Follow. We've got a fire for you to sit by.
Thank you.
We'll follow. But who are you?
Barbed Veil. Come. You can help us lead the Journeykin to safety. But we must move quickly, unless you want to lose yourself in the woods. Our nights have been far darker. The Valraven watch.
Journeykin? You mean that wild animal?
Fascinating beasts they are. Came to us from far away. They need protectors.
It's enraged again?
Stay calm. Help it release that energy, just like last time.
Alright, so we'll do it again. Interesting to note that Barbed Veil's legendary. I don't know that it necessarily means anything in the story. I don't think it was intended to. You know, they have to, when they create an NPC that you interact with to that level, they generally assign it, you know, a tier as if it were an enemy. And that's been true since the base game when, like, Logan, you know, was a legendary character and so forth. So it continues to be true. We see that Barbed Veil is... Whoop, oh. Yeah, I need to actually use the salve on the Warclaw, not Barbed Veil. Which means I gotta wait for it to
Time to do some real damage. Feel the fury.
come off cooldown. Alright, there we go. You see, the Warclaw even is what? Like, what is that? Champ, I believe? These other bears are not anything. But because Barbed Veil's a major character, they are legendary. One of the things that I'm not clear on after my first playthrough of the story, and maybe we'll pay attention to as we go through this playthrough, is the genesis of the Warclaw here in Janthir Wilds. Because the Warclaws that we got from World vs. World were constructs within the Mist. We've been told that these Warclaws, or Journeykin as the bears call them, came from far away. And so I would love to know, you know, what that means in relation to the Warclaws as we know them in World vs. World, and whether there's, you know, is there conflict there, or, you know, do those two ideas align? So we'll keep an eye out for that and see if we're told a bit more about that and we can make some sense of it.
We're your friends.
Good, good.
Warclaw sounds unhappy. Journeykin sounds unhappy. I think we still have to do that one more time. It's kind of tiresome. I would... even once less.
Starting to think
Yeah.
it's enjoying this.
Let it release that energy.
I'll break you down.
I do like that response. You know, when Kate says, starting to think that it's enjoying this, and the bear says, like, could be. Like, I like that. And it almost makes this, you know, giant cat appear cat-like, right? Because it seems like something that a cat would do. So yeah, I'm on board with that. But again, like, once less would probably be, like, okay with me. Admittedly, if I were better at playing Ranger, then I suppose, you know, this would go much faster. And if you wanted to make the argument that repeatedly doing this is like ArenaNet's way of kind of prepping players who may or may not be ready for this content to get ready for this content, that's fine. I'll buy that for $1. I don't know that I would agree, but I'd buy it, I suppose. Alright, Barbed Veil, where are we going? Lightning bugs. Swarms of bugs. Oh no, lightning bug and the swarm, different things. Hey, Dengard. Hey, Dengard.
Welcome.
So I like coming down. Ah, here we go. I think they did a great job with that. And I think it sets the tone. Not only does it highlight what a fantastic job they did on this map in terms of creating the environment.
To camp. I was expecting a little more of a hike.
It's been a long while since we've let the outside in. Travelers avoid these lands, and for good reason. Not intentional isolation, that is. It isn't my story to tell, however, and we're nearing the pen.
So yeah, like I was saying, not only does it highlight what a great job they did on the map, but it also sets tone for the expansion, and it's a likable tone. You know, I think this is fantastic. I think they did an amazing job. All right, I assume I'm supposed to lead the Warclaw into this pen.
Use this to calm the beast.
What is it?
Food.
Green slime food. All right, take the green slime food to the Warclaw. And now we get the Warclaw. We see they continue to use the original imagery now.
Kind interaction and a gift is sometimes all it needs to learn trust.
You return with more than another journeykin, Spearmaster.
More creatures lost in the wild.
A claw of the Coden that I've never heard of, huh?
Call me Stoic Alder.
We found them in the forest, defending themselves against this one.
I'm glad you intervened before any lives were lost. Come, we should speak.
All right, and we will. I'm going to talk for a minute. And also, I think I can come over here and actually like scratch the Warclaw on its chin or something and get an achievement.
Just one more
Yeah, there we go.
confirmation of how
Cool.
great I am.
Note that we got the skin for the Warclaw now. There it is, Janthir Wilds Warclaw skin. Drastically different look than the classic Warclaw, which I like quite a bit. Ooh, that dye, though, is not optimal. Where's like a nice... Ooh, that's a little bit much. Ooh, that's a little bit much. Where's like a chill... Alright. Pink eyes, not optimal. Blue eyes, likable. Make the seat a different color. He's a real orange cat now. I don't know if that's where we want to be. There we go. Alright, I'll buy that. It's better than it was. Okay, so we got our skin for our Warclaw. I think it's a good look. I do actually like it better than the World vs. World skin for the Warclaw. Oh, and look, they get Warclaws now too. Good for them. So we got our little journeykin here, each in a different color, so we all get a little bit of variety there. That's fun. Stoic Alder. Before we talk Stoic Alder, let's talk about Stoic Alder's voice, right? I've heard a number of people say that they really like that Stoic Alder speaks slow and deep and bear-like, and for immersion, I do think that's cool. You know, Stoic Alder sounds like you would expect this particular bear here, who also legendary, to speak like. That's cool, man. However, recall that people got real tired of Areen's slow, deliberate talking, like in End of Dragons. Recall that people got real tired of Pathos' slow, husky whispering in Secrets of the Obscure. And I'm here to tell you, people are, by the end of this expansion, people are going to get real tired of Stoic Alder's very slow, deliberate, guttural, growling voice, because it's very time-consuming, kind of like me running my mouth. After a while, it gets tiresome, right? Yet they keep doing it. They keep creating these characters, and I guess they do it in the interest of creating the character that they want it to be within the world, and I appreciate that. But that is going to start to wear people out. Promise.
As a delegate of the Tyrian Alliance, it's good to meet you, Stoic Alder.
Interesting. I never thought Tyria capable. Clearly, we've plenty to discuss. Come. The village welcomes you.
I'll tend to our friend.
Alrighty. Again, good music, great setting. There's another statue I'll probably try and put. I know I already have access to that statue.
You stumbled into the kindest alcove in Janthir.
Yeah, I'm thankful. Puppy dog. Weird food.
Seems we have visitors. Rather unexpected in our keep. Welcome the Tyrian Alliance.
Tyria has allied. Amusing joke you play, leader.
Your skepticism is understandable. But given the severity of recent threats, Tyria needed to act fast. And unitarily.
Threats? Well, surely the strangers do not walk among all lands.
If you mean the creatures attacking from mist portals, I'm afraid so. We call them cryptis.
Ah, mist portals. It's of the flesh stalkers that this alliance speaks. Yes. As foes, they proved fatal ones. Lives lost on your front as well, then.
I'm afraid so. And allying proved the viable solution, finally.
Fear can be a supreme unifier or divider, depending on how it is channeled. So, this is why you come to my hearth, with eyes carrying intention. A bid to join your alliance.
Who knows what other threats the mists might bring? Should that happen, we'll have strength in numbers.
I respect your good intentions, but need time to ponder its implications for our own. For now, that is my decision. At this time, I extend our visitors the opportunity to speak with our council members.
Okay, and that we will do, but before we do so, a few things to note. So one, it's easy for it to maybe slip by that Stoic Alder makes the distinction between the Flesh Stalkers, which is a reference to the Cryptis, and the Strangers, which is something else. And of course, we knew there was going to be something else in this expansion, and we had a pretty good idea what it is, and we're going to get to see it soon enough. Not too much further in here. But that distinction is made right now. I think it's something that's pretty easy to slip by. I also want to point out before we talk to everyone around the table, one, I got a kick out of the fact that the smartass comment came from a character named Rye Lycan. Like that's kind of fun. Several characters that are already seated here at this table are characters of consequence within the story. So it's not like, this is like a random thing happening and then we'll come back to Stoic Alder and Stoic Alder is the only one we'll deal with. There are at least 2 characters of particular significance at the table, and several more that we will deal with throughout the story and in the open world, whether it be for hearts or for different events that we have to do or whatever the case may be. These characters do matter. Also, real quick, look, bear cubs. I think they did a decent job on the bear cubs. Not bad. Not bad. I like it. All right, so let's talk to all these folks. We'll start out over here. We're going to end, obviously, with Poised Arrow because that's a move the quest along or move the story along marker versus the markers of optional additional stuff. Graced by Fire, which is actually a name very similar to what my first ever Guild Wars 2 character was named. What you got? Our second ever Guild Wars 2 character. Nice to meet you. What's your role on this council? Oh, I also like, real quick, the Tyrian Alliance, you say, interesting, is what Grace by Fire says. I do like that these bears apparently have been keeping tabs on the world to some degree, even if from a distance, because they do seem to have some understanding of the fact that Tyria struggles to ally itself or to come together, and so they immediately have skepticism at the idea of a Tyrian Alliance. We got that from Rye Lycan. We get that again here and we got it from Stoic Alder at the very beginning. We get it here again from Grace by Fire. Nice to meet you. What's your role on this council?
Graced by Fire, Journeykin Master.
Apologies. My thoughts are occupied by council matters at the moment.
Oh.
If you find yourself with time to pass, my apprentice Burning River is out tending the village journeykin. Tell him to give you some lessons at my request. They're fine creatures. I suspect you'll make fast friends.
Indeed, I already have. Thank you, Grace by Fire. Alright, Vast Caldera. Greetings. Hello, what's your role on this council? I am the council's hunting master, Vast Caldera. Okay. So I like that they all have roles that make sense within this world that ArenaNet has created here. So we got like the Journeykin Master, we got the Hunting Master. Let's see what Soren Crest is. Hail, fellow, and well met. Hello, what's your role on this council? You can call me Soren Crest. I'm the Master of Agriculture on this council. So bears are omnivores, right? So it makes sense. They might grow some crops or whatever, pick berries if nothing else. We'll get to see actually quite a bit of that here in the near future, so I won't belabor that point. Deft Lahar. I don't know what Lahar means. So most of these, both first and last name, and in this case, it's literally an entire prepositional phrase, but with a lot of these, first and last name are recognizable. I don't know what Lahar is. All right, Deft Lahar. Yes? Hello, what's your role on this council? I am Deft Lahar, the Homestead Master. So kind of like the Director of Utilities and Construction or something. I oversee the building of all manner of things for our villages. There we go. Got a description anyway. Rye Lycan. I assume you're here to say clever things? Welcome to our village. What do you seek? Nice to meet you. What's your role on this council? So we just don't address Rye Lycan's question at all?
Why, hello there. Rye Lycan, humble lore master of the lowland. Long before our tribe came to inhabit Janthir, we hailed from a sanctuary far in the north. In those times, we were led by two honored Coden, a claw chosen by the people, Alder's role, same as his mother before him. Also, a voice. She was chosen by Koda himself to share in his mind, ultimately proving her worth by the trial of faith. A trial that would prove both to her detriment and the tribe's. Mid-trial, nearly crushed by the weight of madness, she fled. Some call it cowardice. I believe it was the will to survive that seized her from the brink of oblivion. The same will our claw channeled in the trial's aftermath. Rather than risk ruin, he led the tribe south, to Janthir. Given time, some Coden found themselves called back by the will of Koda, a call they followed to Or. The rest, our forebearers, remained. And it is here, free from gods, tried only by nature, that we find our sanctuary. Well, at least that's the speech I've prepared for the Cubs' annual history visit. I fear it sounds a bit rehearsed.
Alright, so there's actually a lot of interesting stuff there, as Rye Lycan. And this is pretty good packaging of exposition. It's certainly better than the Communicator. So we get a whole bunch of lore there directly related to like why the Kodan are here and how that started. So they started further north and then came down here. We don't get a whole lot that's like further north. We got Janthir Gravis, and maybe that, or maybe it's something that's completely off the map right now. That is also a possibility. But under any circumstances, I guess it's just hard to assess what that might be. And then they migrated down here after this event related to the claw and the voice. So we are familiar with the concept of the claw and the voice from the Kodan in Frostgorge Sound, where they discuss it as well. So this is not something new for us. However, this tribe of Kodan, they have no voice, only a claw. And in fact, he makes it sound like they've almost pulled a Char, and like after that happened, where their last voice fled the trial of faith, they've kind of like given up on the idea of communing with Coda and instead commune with nature. So they've kind of changed their faith construct or something, which is very interesting because I believe the Coda and Frostgore Sound still had a voice. I believe that was the whole point of that conversation. There's a hero point down there related to that. So is the Trial of Faith still being conducted down there? And is there, in fact, a difference between the Trial of Faith that the Coda in Frostgorge Sound go through versus the Coda up here? Because this one was apparently so profoundly challenging or consequential that they did not do it again after their last voice fled during that trial. And that is super relevant to some of the story to come. That's why I've taken the time to discuss it. That story is important. Also, there's a very, very weird thing that I don't understand at all. And I don't know if we're going to get more or if it's just a weird thing they threw in there and it's just going to kind of be a riddle for a period of time. And that is this line right here. Given time, some Kodan found themselves called back by the will of Coda. So even though there is no voice, and even though this tribe appears to have kind of walked away from the Coda thing, some Kodan continued to find that voice calling to them. A call they followed to Or. And I don't recall anything in Or having anything to do with Kodan at all. There was plenty of things happening in Or, but I don't recall that being one of them. And I don't recall anywhere in the lore where it particularly mentions, Kodan being involved in, or, whether it's when Or was a kingdom or as it is now. I don't recall any of that. So it will be very interesting. I'm not, by any stretch of imagination, like a lore expert, but that is something that completely evades me. I'm curious to see in the future if there's something more going on there. All right, so we got one more, Fading Aurora. My, aren't you a spry adventurer coming out all this way? Welcome. Ah, well, thank you, Fading Aurora. You can call me Wayfinder. What's your role on the council?
Fading Aurora, Village Healing Master.
Aurora and Barbed Veil, who you first ran into, are two of our newest to don the Master title. Though, judging by their expertise, one would suspect them seasoned veterans of their respective crafts. Additionally, Aurora has fast proved an upstanding mentor for my son.
Currently working on the fundamentals of herbalism.
Save some praise for yourself, Alder. The previous Claw would be proud to see how well you're faring in the position.
The Claw Aurora speaks of was my mother. Feels both long ago and as recent as yesterday that she stood where I do now.
Though a few claw lengths shorter. By my coming of age, she barely made it to my shoulders. But her presence was grand enough to fill the room.
A true leader of Coden. Many have noted the resemblance. See a bit of her in you both. Wayfinder, you find yourself in good company. Hope you can make yourself at home here.
It is interesting and probably a relief that not all the bears speak in that super slow, deliberate voice that some of them do. For example, Fading Aurora, but also Graced by Fire. Neither of them had that super slow cadence to their speech. All right, so we got one person left to talk to. That is Poised Arrow. We just learned Poised Arrow is the son of the Claw, Stoic Alder, and then also being mentored by Fading Aurora in the healing arts, apparently. What you got, Poised Arrow? Hello, outsider. Nice to meet you. What's your role on this council?
The role of Claw was taken, so I settled for a title more modest.
My son has some years before he claims such expertise, though his mind is sharp. Observing our council provides him practical education, instills discipline.
Poised Arrow, son of Stoic Alder and Silken Weir. You?
I'm Commander, or Wayfinder. Wayfinder is probably more fitting these days. I kind of wish we would just let the Commander thing go, but obviously we're not going to. We saw that in our earlier conversation with Anise, so, okay.
A Wayfinder losing their way in our woods. and now Commander. That has a strong sound to it. But if you insist, lost your wayfinder.
Seems our visitor also claims two names. We of the lowland drop formality with those we most respect. Right, Pokey?
Yes, Pa.
Kind of a fun little thing there. I will say that I think one of the things that ArenaNet did pretty well here in this opening sequence, and really throughout our interactions as we go forward with the Coda here, or Kodan, is they do a very good job of communicating the idea that this tribe of Kodan are very much about family and community. And I appreciate that they communicate that very effectively. Um, effectively to the point where I don't think it has to be explicitly stated. The dialogue does a good job of kind of getting that across. It doesn't feel heavy-handed to me, and that's kind of a relief. All right, Stoic Alder, what you got?
Leader, best we return to the planned agenda, pressing as it is.
Your concerns are sensible, graced by fire. Boys Darrow, I'm afraid our discussion shall prove as stuffy to our guests as the air in this hall. Show them around.
But we've only just... A fine idea. Best they enjoy the weather while it holds. Meet me outside when you're set.
Alliance, I deem you welcome visitors, for the time being. Feel free to acquaint yourselves with our town. Fortunate for you, the embers of our summer season burn brightest. May your time here pass well.
All right, so we have entered the Janthir Wilds. Oh, and look at this. Now, that experience actually matters. Isn't that great? It would be way up here if that other 127,000 had counted at the end of the first instance, but it didn't. Wasn't good for us at all. Okay, so we have entered the Janthir Wilds. We have met the Coda here. We're moving towards our initial stated goal of bringing the Coda on, or Codan on board, and that's a cool thing. But there's this whole second mission that we've been given, and so there's a lot to learn about that, or a lot to identify there. All right, so I think we are. Let's find a nice little spot to stand here. Right in front of this brazier is kind of cool. We'll put the puppy dog away, and we'll wrap up this video right here. And the reason we're going to go ahead and wrap it up right here is because just that second instance, along with my almost constant prattling, has taken an hour and 2 minutes. So, again, a very long instance, which certainly could be shortened if you didn't necessarily take time to look at a lot of things or waste a lot of time. But another pretty lengthy instance, and we are now in the Janthir Wild. So when we come back, we are going to have the opportunity to really start exploring the map and start exploring the story and getting to know this area and getting to know more about these bears and so forth. And as we progress through this expansion, I really want to kind of enjoy continuing to look at a lot of the things that are around us, simply because whether it's these cool chairs, and there's a variety of different types of chairs, tables, books. There's an achievement for reading all the books throughout the map. There's a heck of a lot more than 4. There's all those. I don't even have it on my main account yet. There are a few that I just haven't bothered to run down. But back to the point. All these different things that are all over the place, presumably a vast majority of them, we can find a way, including the fish and a fish and a fish and a fish type thing here. All this stuff, presumably, we can put in our homestead. We don't have a homestead yet. It's not too far away. I am looking forward to getting it, although on this account, it's unlikely that I develop the homestead extensively because most of my homesteading effort will probably be dedicated to my main account. Hey, Malice.
We need to focus, Commander.
Am I amazing?
Diplomacy is delicate work.
Okay. Well, you keep focusing. I'm going to go ahead and jump back down here. But yeah, I am looking forward to the homestead, even if I'm not going to extensively develop it on this map, because it is a really good thing that they've added. With a few more tweaks, it'll be even better. And the opportunity to put some of these decorations within our house, or set up, like a patio off to the side of our house, kind of like this here. That will be super cool. We'll sit here, wait to have a drink, and when we come back, we will continue our adventure through the Janthir Wilds and see if we can find out a little bit more about the bear that ran off. I don't even remember her name now. Not important. As well as the whole region and trying to bring these bears on board. So thank you for your time, and I will see you again soon.